Hugs and kisses on my tail. Hey guys, yes, I know my hair is down. I feel like wearing my hair down today. I don't know what it is. Knowing later, if I go anywhere, I'll probably like put it up. But I felt like wearing it down. So let's get into the book, The Greatest You. Let me see something here. We're on chapter 3. Haven't got far in this book, have we? We need to step up the game a little bit. So let's see here. I started reading a little at a time because it was actually going a little too far. So, but we'll figure it out. The current situation is not your final destination. If you're reading this book, you've entered to experience some bad chapters in your life or in the middle of the bad chapters right now. I know how thought that is, and I know how difficult middle of all my stuff. I thought I was going to be living one bad chapter after another for the rest of my life. But there's the absolute truth where you are right now is not your final destination. This is something that Rehab Rachel needed to learn. And to figure it out, the surprising way, Rachel had bad chapters starting with she got married in her late 20s. The man verbally and emotionally and sexually abused her, leaving her in a place where she was taking her pain and frustrations out on her kids and keep kids and sleeping around thinking that if I give my body away, I'll be loved. She started to believe that she didn't have any worth and that her story was intended to end badly. She needed to make a change if she wanted to ever get past the bad chapters. And she went after that change through a surprise source. Even though she wasn't an alcoholic and had never had any substance abuse issues, Rachel started attending Alcohol Anonymous meetings. This had a huge effect on her life. I went to several meetings and I agreed to go to retreat. Wow. The second hardest thing I ever had to do. She told me I was like looking in the mirror, looking at yourself and realizing that you are good enough. I was so used to hearing I was worth nothing. I started to accept that I have done wrong, that I have hurt people and have made mistakes, and I have started to learn to forgive myself and forgive others. You see, it was so easy to point the finger at others until I realized there is no one to blame, of course. You can fix other people, but you sure as heck can't fix yourself. Those meetings were like the start of a new act. In the book of Rachel's life, it was time to put the bad chapters behind her. It wasn't always easy, but she created a new story for herself. As for me, I was physically and verbally abused by my ex-husband. He never did tell me I wasn't worthy enough. He just told me one day, he said, I wanted to get away from you 5 years ago. I said, why didn't you then? Okay, he says, well, he was accusing me of cheating on him. And I'm like, what do you mean I was cheating on you? He goes, oh, I saw you up there with the mailman having sex. I said, the mailman is a mail lady. Give me a second. He was, just saying I was cheating on him, and I really wasn't cheating. I was doing things. There were some some things he wanted me to do to him, and I really didn't want to do it, but I did it, and I'm not going to get into the gory details on that. That's what I did do was disgusting. But I did some things I'm not proud of in the past, and I done some things now that I'm not proud of. I've said some hurtful things to my kids. All three of them, I said hurtful things to my husband. I told my husband now, I said, I hate you. I don't love you no more. I want a divorce. I want to leave. And he goes, okay, fine. Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. But I'm not going to leave my husband now because I love him so much. We do have our fights and bickers. And it hurts me to see him talking to another woman on Facebook and texting and, like I told my husband, I said, and I said, if the girl really watches and sees that you're married on Facebook, a loving husband and loving father, then there's a couple things she should do. Some things she should do. One, if she's going to add you, she should add your wife. That way, your wife doesn't come up and say, oh, is that the new bitch you're fucking this week? Right? Excuse my language. Secondly, or she should say, oh, well, he's married and got kids. Never mind, I'm not going to bother him. He's probably in good with his wife. She can also text you and say, oh, how's your marriage doing with your wife? But you don't put it like that. You just, text him and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. And I just saw your picture, and a friend of mine told me to add you because she's friends with you and I'm friends with her. She didn't know if you were married or single, but it shows on here you're married. Some guys put married because they don't want girls to chase after them because they just lost their wife. They say all kinds of, you can say all kinds of things and whatnot. I just recently looked on Facebook, and I don't know what brought the guy up. It was a guy I dated before I met my husband. His name was Ryan. Not going to mention his last name. He was a gorgeous, good-looking guy. And I just recently saw, and I was like, OMG, he got married. That is so awesome. That is so cool. I'm proud of him for getting married. And his wife is beautiful. He has 2 daughters and a son, and his kids are gorgeous. And his last little girl he had, I really thought that them two were going to end up together. She's a beautiful girl too, but they didn't, and he fell in love and got married, and I'm very proud of him. I am so happy for him. So getting on reading before this book gets to be a mile long. The hardest thing is to stand in front of a mirror and look at yourself and say, to reach deep down inside yourself and really feel the thing that has hurt you. Feel it complete and cry. Fall to the ground and say, God, I put my life in your hands. Really feel the understanding your pain. To run away when I cry alone in my room. But when I leave the darkness as such as light, the yin and the yang, the not so pretty part of us, the pain and the mistakes, all teach us a lesson. And all the joy and the happiness and the wonderful feelings we have teach us that is well all worth. to even your food tastes better. The sky is more beautiful, and your children's smiles are the most precious treasures. Rachel was one so deep in her pain that it must have seemed to her that she could never get past it. But here's the thing about any situation you find yourself in. You can definitely move on from it. You definitely get to the next chapter of your life. The only question is how that chapter is going to read. So work to make it a chapter where the heroes begin to tempt. If you like a lot of people when things are going well, you're worried that the good times are going to end up. But when things are going badly, you think it's going to be like this forever. I don't know why, but that's the way most of us think. But if you really look back on your life, you will see that both the good stuff and the bad stuff evenly move on. That's the way life works. You do some levels of control over this curse. If you allow yourself to get caught up in the feeling miracle about the bad stuff, you can make it last a lot longer than it should. And if you learn from that, you experience when things are going well. You can make the bad times nothing more than optionals. Announcing to learn experience. That's what I want us to work on together now. I know we've been talking mostly about bad chapters here, but I want you to take a little time to think about the best chapter in your life so far. Why were those periods in your life so good? What was working for you? Who were you with? Or who were you with? What were you spending most of your time doing? For me, I would say having my first son, Jeffrey, was a good thing. I was with my mom, my dad, my brothers, my family. I was happy. I mean, yeah, my mom was trying, you need to do this, Mom, you told me, my mother told me and preached to me, you make your bed, you lie in it. I got pregnant as a teenager. I made my bed, I lied in it. And which was with my kids' father. And they both had the same father, which is a good thing. So then, and then when I had my second son, that was another happy time in my life. Having my son Joshua was another happy time. Getting married to my first husband, not knowing the way he was going to be, was a happy time. When I got married the first time was unhappy time. I wasn't really like, ooh, like I was when I married my husband Patrick. My second husband I married to, I was so excited on our wedding day. I knew that I was marrying my best friend. I knew I was marrying the love of my life. And I knew that was one person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I look at my good friend Rebecca, and they just had their wedding anniversary this 4 days ago. I think it was two or 3 or 4 days ago, whatever it was. And it was plastered on Facebook, and I wish them happy anniversary. And I love her to death. And, I dated her husband back in junior high, but would I try to break up them to go with them? No. I love my best friend. She's a really good friend. Um, I love Rebecca as well. She's a really good friend. She's done a lot for me. When I'm having a problem and I need to talk, I can call my best friend and I can call Rebecca, my friend Rebecca, and they'll help me out with my problems. Whether I take their advice or not, that's on me. Um, but as far as this marriage going bad, it hasn't really gone bad yet, but I do get mad about a lot of things, and I feel deep down inside right now, I feel pain because I feel like my husband's doing something. Could be something bad, or my birthday is next month, and maybe he's planning something for my birthday and not saying anything. I know there's some things that he is disappointed in and whatnot, so I gotta figure some stuff out. So I realize not all of us can reduce to situation of our best chapters. Things change. Maybe those chapters, including some who died or moved far away, so that person is no longer available. Maybe they come during your childhood, and we will all know you can go back to that. Maybe you were in a relationship that ended, but even in that situation where criticism changed, it wasn't just those emotional forces that made those times so good. It was also you. You do during those good times. Were you more open to talk or open to taking chances? Were you more insecure? Were you more willing to make a leap of faith? I think if you really gave this some thought, you'd realize that the best chapter of your life is improving. Something about you that you were particularly satisfied with. Some traits that is part of a very best version of you. How can you get yourself back to that? Yeah, that relationship is long over, and he turned out to be kind of a jerk in the end. But how did it feel to have your heart open and to be received through to love in the first place? You certainly can't go back to being 5 years old again, but there is something about the way you look, or the way you took the world back then, but you can recapture. Identifying the past part of your best time is now available, the way to bring those best times back. Now let's go back to those bad chapters. First of all, let's put something important on the table. Only in the most extreme case are you worth situation 100% terrible. I know these situations exist, and if you've been in one of them, I can truly sympathize for the most part. Through even when things are going really bad, there's still good stuff going on. Maybe it's one great friend or family member who's always there for you even when everything is falling apart. Maybe it's a support of a hobby that gives you a few hours off from your terrible. Maybe it's music or pets or just a walk around the neighborhood. It's important to keep this mind, both because it reminds that even your worst times include some good, and because what is good during your worst times is suffered that you can focus on during the best times. But now let's look at the worst stuff. First, remember that even if you're currently in the middle of some of your worst criticism ever, this is not, oh, that hurt. This is not your final destination. And between these rough times and better days, you're growing. Now consider this: plants don't grow without rain. Yeah, storm sucks. But those downpours in your life are necessarily part of your growing. The rain is going to end when the sun comes back out. You're going to have more of what you need to get bigger and better. It's like if you have a hurricane tears a lot of stuff up. There's a lot of people in your life that tear stuff up in your life. It could be an old boyfriend, an old girlfriend. It could be anything at all. No matter what it is, somebody or something's going to do something bad to you in your life. It's up to you how you're going to handle that bad. Sometimes the ability can learn to your greatest ability. That's what happened to me when my struggle to make it in football led to my creation of rehab time, which brought me to where I am now. In my case, my ability to succeed at my dreams was causing me to throw everything I had into my desire for something that I couldn't have. It nearly took me out. But when I started working on my way to fix myself, and that got me to sharing some of those methods with others, and that led me to my great ability, which is important people, and helping them to be who they really want to be. When I was weighted down my ability, I was living through the worst chapters of my entire life. But that's very an ability, and the way I dealt with it led me to my greatest ability. The same thing can happen for you. Once you have confidence yourself, convince yourself that the worst times are most definitely going to pass, you can use the process of getting out of those worst times to lead you to something great. All right. Oops. What in the world? I got here on me. The deal is with me, I have confidence in myself a little bit, but a lot of people is telling me what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And I don't listen to a lot of people because I'm hard-headed like my father and my mother. Well, my mother wasn't hard-headed, but my dad's hard-headed. My dad was a real hard-headed person. And I know my husband wants me to get a job and work. And he says, once you go to work, you ain't going to have time to make your videos. You ain't going to have time for this or this. I will have time for my videos, yes. I will have time, but I will have to get up earlier than normal to either make my videos early or come home from work, sit down and make my video for the next day, for that day and the next day or whatever. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out a lot. But me, when my mother passed away, okay, we'll start with my dad. When my dad passed away, I needed comfort. And my comfort was I started drinking. I wasn't an alcoholic, I didn't like alcohol, but I was drinking wine coolers. So my ex-father-in-law calls my mother up. She answers the phone. She goes, "Is there any way you can come get your daughter? She's drinking." What? Yeah. So my mom and my brother came and picked me up, and I went back to my mom's house. And my kids were in Kentucky. No, my kids weren't in Kentucky either. My kids were with me, and okay, my brother and my mom came and got me and the boys, and it was over the summer, and we went down there because my dad passed away, and my ex-husband decided the day I buried my dad, he was going to go be with some chick in West Virginia, Jen, which don't give a damn, don't care. And then he came back, wanted me back. We got back together, and then he started talking to another girl he met on Toontown. That's where he met Jen as well. Was Garlina. And I was like, okay, blah, 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 blah. Then he left me to go be with her. And I was still upset. And, it's like, he went to go be with Jen the day my dad died, and we put him in the grave. He took off to go to West Virginia. But he took money from my grandmother, borrowed $500 from her, and said he was going to go work for the FEMA program, and that was a lie. My cousin lived out in Mississippi. That's where he was going. And he said that's where the job was sending him. That was a lie. And I said, cool. I said, you don't need to get a hotel. I said, I will get a hold of my aunt and whatnot that lives out that way, and you can go stay with them. Oops. Nope, that didn't happen. Okay. Find out he was in Virginia, and he said he told Jen he was going to be there for her birthday, and he was. He said that they had sex on the couch, and it was a one-time deal. It was an accident. I know that was a lie, because when I asked Jen and told her that I said, my husband said y'all had sex. She goes, we did not. We watched Scarface. That was it. I was on the couch, spread out. She goes, no. Mike was on the couch, spread out, covered up, and I was in the chair, laying in the chair, curled up. We were watching Scarface. He fell asleep, sucking his thumb. I'm like, okay. But when he went to go be with Garlina in Kentucky, he told me that when she met him at the hotel room, she goes, well, here I am. And after they did something, and he was still married to me when he had sex with her, so he committed adultery before I did. We were separated, and I wasn't having sex with men, but he was having sex with women. I was dating, but we weren't having sex. And he looked at him, and she said, well, I guess you got what you want, so you're going to go back home to your wife. And he didn't. He stayed with her. I was in the process of filing for a divorce. He lied to my lawyer, and my lawyer quit me because of him lying and whatnot. So I decided I went on about my business. He told my lawyer I was seeing some guy, and I was pregnant with his baby, and all kinds of crap. And I'm like, what the heck? Not true. But to make a long story short, I'm divorced. I'm remarried. But I do feel like my husband now is got something up his sleeve, but I don't know what it is. But I will find out what it is, because I can persuade him to give an end to anything. So I'm going to end it like that. Until next time, guys, I love y'all. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed day. And enjoy the day. Bye, guys.